The silence of the Jedi Temple was often a comfort, a hum of peace that resonated with the Force. But on this particular day, for Anakin Skywalker, it was a hollow echo, a vast, oppressive quiet that pressed in from every direction. He stood in the hangar, the very spot where he had last seen her back to him, walking away. The apology he had rehearsed, the fervent plea for her return, died on his lips, unsaid, unheard. She was gone. And with her departure, something vital within Anakin fractured. It wasn't just the loss of a Padawan, it was the abrupt, brutal severing of a bond that had, for years, unconsciously acted as a crucial counterweight to the turbulent currents within his soul. A profound loneliness, sharp and cold, settled deep in his chest. But beneath the ache of separation, a bitter seed of resentment began to sprout. He felt betrayed, not just by Barriss Offee, who had framed Ahsoka, but by the very institution he had sworn his life to. The Jedi Council, those wise, ancient voices who preached justice and compassion, had cast his apprentice out, abandoned her in her hour of need. They had doubted her, condemned her without full proof, and then, with a hollow gesture, offered her a place back after her innocence was proven. But the damage was done. The trust was shattered, the integrity of the Order tarnished in Anakin's eyes. How could they have been so blind, so rigid? How could they have failed her so utterly? This feeling of betrayal wasn't new for Anakin, but with Ahsoka's unjust expulsion, it deepened, crystallizing into a firm conviction. The Council, in their detached wisdom, were fundamentally flawed, perhaps even corrupt. Ahsoka had been unique. Where Obi-Wan often tried to temper Anakin's impulsiveness with patience and adherence to the code, Ahsoka approached him differently. She was his apprentice, yes, but also a confidant, a mirror, and a grounded counterpoint to his soaring, often reckless spirit. She challenged him, not with the distant authority of the Council, but with an earnest, direct honesty that he instinctively respected. Her youthful idealism and unwavering moral compass subtly guided him, sometimes without him even realizing it. She provided a sense of purpose beyond the war, a living, breathing connection to the purity of the Jedi ideal, untainted by the political machinations and rigid dogma that increasingly frustrated him. Her absence created an undeniable void. It wasn't just the lack of her presence in his daily life, it was the disappearance of a specific kind of light in his world. She had been someone who understood his unorthodox methods, someone who could call him Sky Guy and bring a smile to his face even in the direst of situations. She could pull him back from the brink with a quick, witty remark, or ground his soaring ego with a knowing glance. Without her, that particular tempering influence was gone. The internal checks and balances that she often unwittingly provided simply vanished. And into that vacuum, with terrifying swiftness, the darkness rushed in. The carefully constructed barriers around his darker impulses, which Ahsoka had helped to reinforce, began to crumble. His loneliness made him more vulnerable, his bitterness against the Jedi more pronounced. He sought understanding, validation, and a sense of belonging. And it was in this fractured state that Senator Palpatine found him, a master manipulator ready to exploit every raw nerve. Palpatine, ever the sympathetic ear, now found an even more fertile ground for his machinations. He commiserated with Anakin about the Jedi's perceived failings, echoing Anakin's own Cimmerian resentments. He subtly praised Anakin's power, nurturing his growing sense of being unappreciated by the Jedi. Ahsoka's departure had stripped away one of Anakin's most powerful emotional anchors, leaving him adrift, and Palpatine was there, offering what seemed like a steady hand, promising a path to power and control that the Jedi, in their short-sightedness, denied him. This loss also profoundly deepened his already potent fear of losing Padmé. If the Jedi could so callously discard Ahsoka, a child they had raised, what guarantee did Anakin have that they wouldn't eventually separate him from Padmé, the very core of his emotional world. With Ahsoka gone, Padmé became the last remaining pillar, the singular, fragile tether holding him to what little light he felt was left. The thought of losing her, already a terrifying prospect, now took on an all-consuming intensity, a desperate, suffocating fear that overshadowed everything else. This made him even more possessive, more desperate to control the circumstances of his life, fueling the very fear that Palpatine would later weaponize against him. Ahsoka's departure was not merely a sad event in Anakin's life. It was a critical, irreversible turning point. It accelerated his descent into the despair and anger that would ultimately consume him. The void she left behind became a chasm, steadily widening, allowing the shadows within her to grow unchecked, unimpeded. Her absence didn't cause his fall, but it was undoubtedly the catalyst that sped up her tragic trajectory, pushing him step by agonizing step towards the unforgiving embrace of Darth Vader. Her walking away was the moment the galaxy truly began to lose its hero. What are your thoughts on this pivotal moment in Anakin's train? Do you believe Ahsoka's absence was the most critical factor, or just one among many? Share your perspectives in the comments below. And if you found this reflection thought-provoking, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more explorations into the galaxy far, far away.